Hello and welcome back to another episode of Autodidactica. I'm one of your hosts, Glenn Clark,
I am the other, Matt Paul.
and I don't know, we've got a lot to talk about, I guess. Like y'all aren't gonna know this, but we've been off for a couple of weeks. We got the COVID.
Yeah,
It was fun. I mean, we had enough pre-recorded episodes that there won't be a glitch in the release schedule, but yeah, we were off for a couple weeks, and I'm still
yeah.
not 100% voice wise, but
Was a rough
yeah,
time.
it sucked.
It was a dark time.
A very dark time. Like, yeah, I was at work on that Tuesday for all of 11 minutes from the time I clocked in to the time I clocked out and went straight to the doctor. And then I texted you and I'm like, I've got COVID. It
Yeah,
wasn't good.
no. And then I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I won't get the COVID. And then I had the
Right.
COVID
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like 2 days after.
Mm-hmm.
And then all throughout the week and then throughout the weekend and then
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
threw off a lot of plans
Like
and
all of them.
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, don't I do not recommend getting COVID.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Right.
If
Oh
you
my
if you
gosh.
if you value your health and mental stability, then I would not
Yeah,
recommend the COVID.
for sure. I mean, to me, the headache was the worst. Had a headache for 3 days, and I think my throat closed up a couple times on day three. Day three was the worst. That's the day I went to the doctor. First 2 days, I didn't even know I had COVID. Like the first day, I thought I got some bad coffee and just had a little tickle in my throat. Second day, thought it was allergies. Third day, 11 minutes at work, and
Third
I'm
day,
done.
death.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My symptoms weren't terrible. I had a manageable headache and fever,
Uh-huh.
and then a persistent. It was just annoying. Like it was just because it
Oh
was so
yeah.
persistent. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was no relief. I ended up taking a total of 2 days off of work, Thursday
Yeah.
and Friday. And then I had Sunday, and well, then I had Saturday, Sunday, and Monday was MLK Day, so I had that day
Right.
off. So I only
Okay.
ended up having to take off 2 days of work, but I probably could have worked Friday
Uh-huh.
because most of my symptoms had passed. I was still testing positive, but I could not sleep on Thursday night at all because that is when mine came in like waves of symptoms. Like
Yeah.
first and second day sore throat, end of second day headache, fever, third day headache, fever, a little bit of sore throat. Fourth day no sore throat, headache, fever, but then late at like towards the end of the day is when the congestion set in, and that was that Thursday.
Right.
And then I could not sleep all Thursday. Like I can deal with
Mm-hmm.
working with congestion and then a manageable headache fever with some Tylenol, but
Yeah.
like I couldn't sleep at all. So I can't work on no sleep.
Right.
I think I finally fell asleep around like 5:45, 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and then there was an unfortunate car trouble after Glenn's first day back at work. And I had to get up and help with that.
Wait.
at like
Oh, the tire. That's right.
yeah,
My
at like
tire was
like
flat.
15 minutes after I had fallen asleep.
That's
And
right.
so that was unfortunate because then when I tried to go back to sleep, I could not.
Oh
And
gosh, that's
it's
terrible.
until like 11 in the morning. And I just
Mm-hmm.
texted my boss and was like, hey, uh, I couldn't sleep last night at all due to
Yeah.
COVID. So I will not be working today either.
Jeez.
Ooh, yeah, it was a COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Let's not do that again.
let's kill it.
I'm glad we got that experience though. I mean, I'll speak for myself.
Yeah,
Like I'm
speak for
glad that I
yourself.
had that experience so that I know what it's like to have COVID. Like you said it felt just like the flu to you. To me, it felt like the flu with sharp edges. Like it felt pointier. I can't think of a better word than it was pointier than the flu. It hurt. It hurt more. Um, but yeah, otherwise.
So that's what we've
And
been
we're
doing.
vaccinated, so
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, the doctors seem to think that was helpful. It might have been worse had we not been vaccinated.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I'm
Me
not a
either.
doctor.
Neither am I.
Oh, were you about to say something?
No, no.
Okay.
Witty stuff.
Oh,
But I
oh,
was just
right.
like, yeah,
Yeah, you're good at that.
yeah. I almost segued right into the topic, but we have other
Really?
things to
Oh,
talk
yeah, we
about.
got other stuff. I mean, for one, like, what? Last week we did karma,
Yes.
and
Last episode.
well, last episode. To them, it'll be last week.
Right.
To us, it's like 3 weeks ago. Um, and then next week oh geez,
Yeah.
next week is intimidating. Next
Yeah.
week we're doing the politicization of the transgender experience. So that's going to be a hot topic.
Yep. Two cis white males
Right, two cis
jumping
white guys talking about
the transgender experience.
right.
So
Well, we're talking about the political
what is it?
aspect of
Yes.
it.
Yeah. The
Um,
politicization.
we're not going to pretend to speak for the transgender experience. You know, I don't.
True.
I haven't had that experience.
Yeah. Neither have I.
So, but you know, we're gonna talk about politics and transgender folks and all that. This week, our topic is going to be the death penalty. So nice light topic, like we always do here at Autodidactica.
Yeah. Good, fun family friendly content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Bring the kids. Bring the kids. Let's talk about death penalty. Jesus got the death penalty.
Yep.
Bring your Sunday school class.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen what was it called? That Mel Gibson, The Passion of the Christ.
Oh, good God.
Right, right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That was brutal. That was
That was
basically
brutal.
a snuff film.
Yeah, that was like that was like if you're into sadism, that was a great film.
Right, right. Gosh, that was hard to watch. Speaking of death penalty, but again, before we get into the topic, let's see, we had a few comments on our YouTubes that I thought we'd talk about, because we're always encouraging y'all to comment and email us or whatever. And you know, while we're on the topic, if you want to subscribe, we will love you for it. Like this video, share this video. It helps us to build our audience, and it helps us with the YouTube algorithm.
And it strokes my ego.
It strokes our ego. So like our egos are purring just whenever.
All right, calm down.
Whenever
calm
we get
down.
I can't come. I'm very excited that I'm just gonna. All right.
Anyway,
I'll calm down now. I'm gonna
look
go
at
put
your
on cat ears and start
yeah.
purring.
we should just start wearing a prop every week.
I like it.
But yeah, we had some commenters, and the first one was on one of our older videos. Yes,
Yes.
civilizations in prehistory.
Right.
Talking about a civilization that I am not familiar with, but I'm now intrigued in, because I don't remember the exact name. I believe it started with a J, and the Jomas, maybe?
Let me see. I've got them pulled up. I was gonna try to make you read everybody's name who commented. Let me see if I can pull that. Oh, where did it go? Wrong. Hold on. Oh, that's the tab I'm looking for. I have all these things
Japanese, open. Yeah, Jamon culture. That was from Zakopa.
Zakopa, a subscriber, no less.
One of our the Jamon culture, which apparently lasted for over 10,000 years. Yeah, that is a long time for a civilization to last.
That is a long time. True.
And so I am interested in that, being somewhat of a subscriber to a certain sect of Japanese culture.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You're a weeb.
I am,
Oh,
yeah.
it's all right. It's understandable. Um, but yeah, I'm really fascinated by that. I'm gonna be looking into that. You know, now that I'm past the COVID, I can
Yeah,
actually think again and look into things.
it's a nice
Um,
ability.
it is, it's a lovely ability,
Dude,
and I miss it so much.
I will never take another breath for granted.
Never,
Like a
never.
free breath to be able to just breathe normally
Oh yeah.
is a blessing,
Jeez, you're preaching to the choir.
literally.
Because I'm gonna sing
Yeah, hopefully
while
not.
purring, sing and purr.
So yeah, thank you
Excitement.
for the comment, Zakopa.
So
Uh,
and feel free to correct us on pronunciations of names because we're terrible, which is why I'm making Matt read names.
yeah, and then we had on our last posted video we had
Right. On
at the time it was episode 12. Um,
Christianity, Satanism, and ethics. Is religion more good or bad?
that was a fun one. That was our longest episode to date.
To date, over 3 hours long. And y'all
So
listen to it, so thank you.
yeah, thank you. We had Hassan Asif, who brought up my sheer ignorance to Islam. I haven't looked into Islam enough. I haven't read much of the Quran.
Right.
I'm familiar with the basics that I learned in school, which are, which is very slim. None of the actual culture, if you will, just the very
Mhm.
basics of the origin of the religion.
Right. Right. Yeah, same. Like I commented on that YouTube comment, but just to reiterate, I said that I know kind of the bare minimum too, just that there's some overlap with it's an Abrahamic faith. So there's some overlap in the origins of Islam, Christianity, Judaism. All goes back to Abraham. We actually talked about it, I think, in in that episode, in episode 12. So just a little bit, just a teeny little bit. And so one of our listeners wanted to know how much we know about Islam, and not nearly enough. I think I think it's a good idea to know as much as we can about world religions in a society that allows for freedom of religion. It just helps us to understand each other better, where we're coming from, and when people of different faith traditions and something about those traditions, I think it helps in to aid in understanding each other just as people. There's a lot of Islamophobia in our country, in the United States, and it's just not justified. It's like, you know, religions are religions. They all have some violent, well, they don't all, I guess, have some violent passages, but all of the Abrahamic ones do. Um, so when you know that, when you actually read those scriptures, I think and he recommended some,
A translation.
yeah, two of them. One was more straightforward, and one was more academic. And I'm going to order both of them. And, I've always been fascinated by the Quran and scripture,
Well, yeah, it's the most, as far as I know, the most recent iteration of the Abrahamic branch of religions.
Right.
And so it is interesting to think about how Christians denounced Judaism because they were the next step.
Uh-huh.
And then Islam came after that, and Christians are sort of left behind. They're the ancient one now.
Right.
And it's interesting to think about. I don't
Right.
think, and then when this is a whole nother topic, but future religions.
Oh yeah.
Are
Ooh, what a
are
fun
we
idea.
are we ever going to move? Is there going to be another Messiah, another prophet, one that will
Right.
be documented down in the scriptures and won't make everybody drink the Kool-Aid in their cult? Um,
Right. Ooh. I mean, that would be a fun topic all unto itself.
yeah, because that's what's interesting to me about Islam, is what I was
Mhm.
saying, is that it is the most recent iteration
Right.
that is popularly followed.
Yeah, and it's growing rapidly.
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah.
think, and I could be wrong about this. I don't have those statistics in front of me, but I want to say um it's Islam and atheism are the two most rapidly growing um faiths, at least
Yeah.
in the United States. Um and again, I could be wrong. I'm not looking at actual numbers. Um
I don't
my
think it would
information.
be, I mean, I don't think it would be in the United States. I think that would
Okay.
be globally.
Okay, possibly. Um
Yeah.
but it's all fascinating to me, you know. Like I like to say I'm a student of all philosophies, a devotee to none, but I do like to learn. I like to learn, you know, different people's ideas about things. So thank you for that comment.
Yes.
Because yeah, it really got our brains going.
Yeah. So everybody comment.
Yeah, yeah, keep it up. Comment. And our email again, if you want to email us, which you don't have to. If you're on YouTube, you can just comment right there. It's a magical thing about the 21st century. But if you
It's great.
do, if you are just listening to the podcast, not watching on YouTube and want to get in touch with us, it is Autodidactica at Gmail. No, I got it wrong. It's a long email. Autodidactica podcast at gmail.com.
There you go.
Yeah, that's where you email us, and we
Good luck
will.
spelling Autodidactica.
Right. Well, I
If you're
mean, if you're
listening, it's
here,
right there.
yeah, it's right there. It's you found the podcast, you found the YouTube. That's how you spell it.
Yeah.
Just add podcast at gmail.com and you'll find us because we live there in our email.
In the virtual
In
world.
our email that we always forget to check. I want to be a virtual boy. I'm looking forward, but that's a whole other topic.
Glenn's ready to
when
ascend.
yeah, when when we hit that AI singularity or whatever, where we've become one with the
With
internet.
the internet.
I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm there. Um,
Sounds like immortality to me. Check out episode 4 or 5.
right. Yeah, we did immortality and we did AI. So
Yeah,
both things worthy of being revisited. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, so anyway,
Anyway,
I guess stop talking about immortality, start talking about death. How
death,
about that? How's that for a segue?
capital death.
Capital punishment, summary execution. You did it bad. We're gonna make you dead.
Yeah,
That's that's the topic tonight. Oh, and I just remembered a note I didn't write down. I'm gonna write it down.
write
Well,
it
you.
down. I dare you. Yeah, we're doing the death penalty with surprisingly no subtitle or subheaders. We literally just put down death penalty. No ethics
Right.
and morality surrounding the politicization of the death penalty. We literally just said death penalty.
Death penalty. We'll
Let's
talk
talk
about
about it.
that.
Yeah. So this could go anywhere.
This, yeah,
Um,
it really could.
um,
Like
yeah,
we might kill a man on this episode just to
we
see what it's like.
just to see what it's like. Yep, he did it bad.
Yeah, he did it bad. He's got to die.
Yep. So that's the way the United States views it, at least.
Right.
Half, actually, only half. I was surprised. I did a lot of statistical research.
Nice.
All of the
Nice.
moral stuff is going to come straight from the dome. We haven't
Right.
worked that one out yet.
Yeah, we don't know what we're gonna say.
But statistically, I do know what I'm going to say, and that is that roughly half of the United States has already abolished the death penalty, which I did not know.
I didn't know that either.
I thought it was much less than that.
So did I.
I thought we were much more pro death penalty.
It's probably because we live in Texas.
Yes, I have
So
I have Texas blinders on.
right. So we just think,
I'm-
oh, this is the way the world is. No.
Yeah, I'm well
This
because
is
Texas
Texas.
is basically half the size of the world. So
Well, that's an exaggeration. But being a Texan, you're born with a license to exaggerate.
mhm.
True
It
story.
says it right there. I'll pull out my license.
Right.
Everybody gets a card when they're born.
Right, and a gun.
and a gun. Yeah, some Marlboro Reds and a cowboy hat.
Yeah, like where Texas is so pro death penalty that they try to encourage us to kill each other as often as possible.
Yes,
Like, here, have a gun and
yes,
share it with all of your most criminal friends.
yep. Do I need a license? Nah, you're good.
No, do I
As
need
long
to
as
be mentally fit? No. You can be bat crap crazy. We'll give you a gun.
you don't need a license as long as you wear it where everybody can see it.
Right. Right. As long as you're menacing and threatening. Well, there's another topic we should do.
Yeah, gun control.
Gun control for sure.
Writing it down.
Heck yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I gotta make the header here, new topics, because we sometimes come up with more than one.
Yeah, true.
Why do I care so much about how good my handwriting looks on my own
I don't know, but
notes?
you do have excellent penmanship,
Um,
so it pays off. I appreciate it.
it helps being able to read your own notes.
Right. Which I don't
Um,
have that gift. Like, I write notes for like novel ideas and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell did I write? I'm sure it was a great idea.
what are these hieroglyphics in front of me?
Hieroglyphics, yeah. I've created my own language.
But yeah, some of the stats were very surprising in regard to death penalty abolishment. Is that a word? That's a word.
It is.
Uh, abolishitization.
No, okay, no, that's a new
Yeah,
word.
that's a bad word.
We'll
in
add
the
that
middle
one
of
to
there.
the Autodidactica dictionary.
Oh, there should be an Autodidactica dictionary.
There should
An
one day
Autodidactionary.
Autodidactionary. Yeah, we'll have to
Um,
save that for an anniversary or something.
Dictionary. There we go.
Autodidactionary.
Yeah, and that'll be some of our new merch. You can buy the
Oh yeah, totally.
2023 edition of the Autodidactionary. Um, we're developing a new language here. Anyway,
100%.
roughly half the United States has already abolished the death penalty. And I noted down the most recent, and there were a few of these, but I just picked one. Colorado, in 2020. This study was done in 2021. So as of 2021, Colorado was the last to abolish the death penalty. It was a like an interactive chart, so it didn't have a list. I just had to hover over each state and see when it was abolished versus when it was enacted, or sometimes reenacted then re-abolished.
Oh right.
It's interesting to note too. I didn't actually write this down, but I recall this. Federally, the death penalty is still in action.
Right.
In accountants for actual executions, there is a tab for federal executions as well, as in not by any state. So federally, as in the United States as a whole, still is a retentionist when it comes to the death penalty.
Right.
But yeah, so Colorado and I think a few, like one or two other states, Arizona might have been one. They got rid of the death penalty in 2020. And the earliest that I could find while scrolling over this interactive chart was Michigan, which was 1846. They just said no death penalty before, the Civil War.
Yeah, I didn't realize any state had abolished the death penalty that early.
There were a couple 1800 ones. I know that Maine was like 1887. A few of these I had to look up and make sure they were actually even states when this chart said that they abolished the death penalty. Like Michigan, I had to look up when Michigan became a state because it was only like 10 years prior that Michigan became a state, and they just already abolished the death penalty. Of course, 1846 is interesting just from a death penalty standpoint, because it'd also be interesting to look up this dark, but bear with me, lynchings.
Right.
Lynchings and Native Americans, I'm sure, were not under the protection of the abolishment of the death penalty. Right. So a lot of these 1846 abolishments probably need an asterisk that said for white people only.
Yeah, probably. That's a good point.
Which is why I was so surprised that there were 1800s abolishments of death penalties, because I was like,
Yeah.
we hadn't even freed the slaves yet, and we were still offering bounties on scalps
Yeah.
for Native Americans.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was an interesting stat line for sure.
Uh-huh.
Because I definitely thought the whole country was like kill the criminals. Um, just closer to home, I've got Texas. We have executed the most out of any state.
Big shot.
Um, it's in the upper 500s, and that's from 1977
Hmm.
onward. We have executed about 560, I believe,
Right.
uh, death row inmates.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I mean, for what, at least it is it's rare to commit a crime that legally merits the death penalty. There aren't that many capital crimes on the books. So, I mean,
right.
500 and something might seem like a small number, but it's when it comes to executions, that's a big number because it's rare
And
that you get the
surprisingly,
death penalty.
yes, it is rare. You may get the sentence, but it's also
Oh
rare that
yeah,
you even get the
all the way.
execution.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Truth.
and 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 to that, Texas executes about half. Like, as in, if you get the death penalty,
Mm-hmm.
you've got about a 50% chance of either dying in a prison cell through natural causes, waiting for the death penalty, or we actually execute you. Or in the
Yeah.
small chance that you get exonerated or pardoned
Mm-hmm.
or a stay of execution and all that
Right.
clemency.
Well,
Uh,
and looking at the past 30 years, like this is an interesting statistic that I looked up. And it's that 1 in 25 people who are sentenced to death are actually innocent. That's roughly 4.1% of the people on death row didn't even commit the crime. And sometimes that doesn't even come out until after they've been executed. And then it's discovered who actually committed the crime, and we executed an innocent person. And to me, that's horrifying. I don't understand.
Now, on that stat though, because that's horrifying. That is absolutely horrifying. But on
Yeah,
that stat, does it tell you the timeline on that, like from when to when?
it said the last 30 years, that's the data they were looking at. And I'm assuming, I don't remember, and again, I do not have that right in front of me because that's something I was looking up right before we hit the go button. um but well, maybe I have it up. Let's see if I still have that so I can get my source like a good
Because
boy.
the interesting thing, because when I took forensics class in high school, and we did
Cool.
briefly look at one of the, yeah, it was a fun class. um I just had to take a science my senior year, and forensics
Yeah.
counted and looked fun.
Oh, and I don't have that tab up still anymore, so still anymore.
It is
Bad
a,
grammar.
yeah, you're going to author hell now.
Author hell is waiting
Your editor is calling you right now.
to execute me,
Yeah,
to
to
have been
execute
sentenced to death
to death.
using two words that mean the same thing right next to each other.
Appalling. What are you, 12? But
Sometimes.
the interesting thing came out that, like, DNA testing, like
Oh yeah.
when that became what much more in practice, more and more inmates were being exonerated, because
Hmm.
they've been saying for years that they didn't commit the crime, and then with new DNA testing, they were finally able to be exonerated.
Right.
And or like a person would like pass away in, Washington, and they just so happened to run his DNA and then found out,
Uh-huh.
oh, this guy killed 14 people in Idaho back in 1976, like, and
Right.
this guy's been locked up for those killings since 1977. And
Yeah. Jeez, can you
so
imagine being locked up that long? Like your
your
whole
whole life
life?
is gone, and you get nothing for it too. that's a whole nother
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
yeah,
that.
that is a whole nother
Mm,
thing
mm,
because they get nothing, no compensation. They
that
get
is,
very, very
jeez,
little compensation from the government. Um,
inexcusable because that's the government messed up the
the
legal
lack of
process.
compensation, it failed.
Yeah,
It failed, and at the time they may have had all the circumstantial evidence they needed to put this person away,
right.
but you know, it's,
See,
it's rough.
and that's what I don't get because how does it get that far if the evidence doesn't actually prove they did it beyond a shadow of a doubt? Like whenever you get jury duty, they run that through your head that you have to know beyond the shadow of a doubt
12 Angry
that this
Men.
person did or did not. And I would think if you're going to sentence someone to die, then you had best have
Have zero
absolute
doubt.
proof. Like, yeah, there. How do people get innocent? How do innocent people wind up on death row when
That
they're?
would be good prosecutioners
I guess so.
convincing the jury that
Mm-hmm.
this circumstantial evidence is enough.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's why I was wondering if the stats may be skewed to earlier cases that didn't
Right.
have um
DNA.
DNA testing. But
Yeah.
when we talk about 30 years now, we're talking about 1993.
Oh,
Um,
geez, don't.
yeah, because when I say 30 years ago, I still think of the 70s.
I do
Um,
too.
but the 30 years ago now is 1993.
Oh my gosh. That's true. Like I was rewatching a bunch of Kevin Smith films recently, like
Whoever that is.
Clerks,
Oh yeah.
Mallrats, like, and I hadn't watched them in a while, and I was just watching them and just had this realization that just hit me. Gosh, the 90s were a long time ago.
Yeah, have you seen the hairstyles back then?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
well.
Star Wars is 60 years old almost.
I don't think it's that. It's almost 50.
77, right?
Yeah, so that would be almost 50.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Star Trek is almost
100.
60 or so. Yeah, like a billion. Or is it what? I don't know. You're gonna get me off on these things.
Yeah,
And now I'm
yeah.
thinking, oh, Doctor Who's got an anniversary this year. That was 1963. This is 19 or 2023. So well, that's 60 years, right?
Yeah.
So Star Trek is about 3 years behind that. Star Wars is about a little around a decade behind that.
Yeah.
Totally off topic,
Totally off
but
topic, but
except
that's
I am going
us.
to come back to Star Trek. If you can
Oh,
believe that. If you
I'm
I
excited for
might
that
talk
now.
about Star Trek in this episode.
But yeah, that is absolutely a horrifying stat to think about how we're executing people that end up being innocent later.
Yeah,
And with more and more advances and more abolishment of the death penalty, that won't be a thing.
right. Right.
So
Exactly.
like that's important to think about too, is that we're eventually as a society probably going to get rid of the death penalty
I hope so.
because to me, with our current justice system, it's like unless there is like video evidence of a murder being taken place, to me there's
Mhm.
always a doubt.
Right.
Like,
Well, oh, go on.
well, it just because of flawed policeman work, flawed technology, um
Mm,
wrong place, wrong time. There's always the 0.01% chance that they didn't do it, despite all of the evidence that says they did.
right.
And so, with that in mind, it always it seems strange to have a death penalty.
It really does. When anyone could be wrongfully accused and convicted, it's just nah. It bothers me a lot, honestly.
Yeah, the other thing that I didn't look up that I should have looked up before we got to this point
Yeah.
was what actually gets you the death penalty.
Oh, right. I know murder. Um,
I believe I looked this one up for Texas in particular.
Treason.
Murder. It's all murder actually.
Okay.
It's all murder. Murder of a public safety officer or firefighter in the line of duty. Murder during the commission of specified felonies. I don't know what that means. It has parentheses: kidnapping, burglary, rape, aggravated. Aggravated rape. Actually, robbery and arson. So murder during the commission of specified felonies. Oh, during the commission, as in while doing them. You're kidnapping somebody and you murder them.
Right.
Murder for remuneration. Never heard that word before. I have no idea what that means.
Payment.
Murder for hire.
Okay. Murder for remuneration. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a way to say it, I guess.
Yeah.
Tongue twister.
This is under tarleton.law.uttexas.edu.
Okay.
So these ones are highlighted for some reason. Or sorry, last one. Multiple murders and murder during prison escape. Murder of a correctional officer, murder of a judge, murder of a state prison inmate who is serving a life sentence for any of 5 offenses, or murder of an individual under 6 years of age. So you murder someone 7, you miss the death penalty. But
wow. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all murder. Don't murder people and you won't get killed by the state.
It's kind of like it reminded me of something else I wanted to bring up that, there's not much to say about it, but because it's a murder, it's a life for a life, which reminds me of the Code of Hammurabi, which that was one of the oldest codes of law ever written down. And it was Mesopotamia, 18th century BCE. And that's actually the first record we have of the death penalty being codified into law, into a written legal system. And there were 25 different crimes that could earn you the death penalty. I don't know what those were, but I'm sure one of them was murdering people. Or it could be like what you just read off. It could just be different types of murdering people. Right. Because, the Code of Hammurabi was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, that kind of thing. It's like, if you steal, you get your hands cut off. If you,
I think it started with
there was something where you could get your tongue cut out. It might. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was like once you lost like 4 fingers, then they cut your hand off or something.
Okay, yeah. It's like once you've lost 4 fingers for doing the same thing, like what's wrong with you?
Right.
Like,
well, don't forget they were often stealing for food.
Right. I was just about to realize that. That's right. Like if you got to eat, you got to eat. Yeah. So, I mean, there's another topic just talking about poverty being basically illegal throughout history. But anyway. But I just wanted to bring that up, that the earliest recorded instance of a capital punishment was 18th century BCE, Mesopotamia, Code of Hammurabi, who was a king then. So, but back to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at Texas method of execution. This is all just interesting to me. Method of execution between 1819 and 1923, Texas executed its own death row prisoners, and I have no stats on how many were executed back then.
Right.
All my stats are basically from the 70s onward. We did it by hanging here in Texas between 1819 and 1923. Then from 1924 to 1977, the electric chair became the legal means of execution. In 1977, execution by lethal injection became the legal method of enacting the death penalty in Texas. However, the first prisoner executed by lethal injection in the United States took place in 1982. So what is that? 5 years after the method was changed.
Okay. which maybe speaks to how long it actually takes to get
It
from being sentenced to death to actually being executed. It's not a summary execution. They don't just say
no
you're sentenced, line up, we're going to shoot you. That's
right. Firing squad walks in, take
yeah.
you out back.
Yeah, because they at least do give you time to appeal the decision.
Oh, it's
And
automatically done. I'm reading that
yeah.
here.
Oh,
After the
okay.
verdict is rendered, the defendant is found guilty. The case is automatically appealed to the Court of Criminal Appeals. If the
Okay,
prisoner loses in the Court of
good.
Criminal Appeals, she may then appeal the case to the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and then finally to the United States Supreme Court.
Yeah,
I wonder how many death penalties have gone to the Supreme Court,
for real. I don't know.
because I haven't heard of one,
I haven't
a
either.
notable one.
That is interesting. I want to know. um, yeah. I'm glad you looked up all these statistics and such, like, and we keep talking about the 70s. One thing that I think is interesting is that the last person to be executed by the guillotine happened in 1977.
In the United States,
I don't
or
think
is
it was
that
the United
globally?
States. I don't think we ever used the guillotine in the
I don't think
United
we did.
States.
Yeah.
France loved the guillotine.
We just like rope.
Yeah, we hang people. But that's one thing that's like a really morbid thing, like how this used to be like going to the movies. Let's go watch a public hanging, kids. Let's go see someone get their head chopped off at the guillotine. It was public executions. I don't think we have those in any form in the United States anymore.
I believe you can go witness.
Well,
Because they
the
require witnesses
yeah,
for death
witnesses is
penalties.
one thing, but it's not like open to the public, like you're going to the movies to be
Right.
entertained by someone's death. I think the people witnessing like are the victims' families, the person on death row, their families. I think it's a very limited group of people who can actually go in and watch someone get executed. But I think it's a weird, like before we had the cinema, we had public executions. Before, we had gladiators back when in antiquity, and that is what people did for entertainment. They watched people die. Now, I just think that's so crazy, but it's from a 21st century American looking back in time and saying that was crazy. But thousands of years from now, people are going to look back at us and say, "Oh, that was crazy." In Texas, they outlawed abortion, and the governor let you hire bounty hunters. And I
Yeah,
mean,
to chase down doctors.
yeah, doctors and Lyft and Uber drivers, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, it's that kind of like I had another point that kind of leads into, really. If if you are okay with me
Yeah,
bouncing,
yeah,
we can,
go
if
for
you
it.
had more to say on this, we can come right back to it.
I will have so many statistical things to say throughout the night, probably.
Okay, good. But I mean, this is like talking about abortion, like something that's fascinating to me, morbidly fascinating, is that like if you look at the voters and the politicians who are generally pro death penalty, they're the same people who are opposed to abortion because life is sacred. The pro life crowd is also pro death penalty usually, and they're pro gun, like they're against gun reform, like laws that would stop all of the mass shootings. We had another mass shooting today in this country. And people don't even like
I
say
didn't hear
anything
about
about
it.
it anymore. Right, that's my point. Like people don't even talk about these things anymore because they happen so much, but these people are allegedly, valuing life, but they also think, certain people deserve to die. And it's a weird thing to me that yeah, it's kind of like a faith-based thing, and you can't convince me. I mean, you can try, I'll listen. But I don't expect to be convinced that most any of those politicians are actually people of the faith they profess to be. Like they don't really believe that stuff, or they wouldn't act the way they do. Could say the same thing about a whole lot of preachers that I've known. Um, you can't convince me they actually believe it. But like for politicians, I think, it's just trying to get votes and trying to convince people uh these people, the death penalty, like people deserve to die. It's a very harsh thing to me. Um but to come from the same people who are outraged that any woman for any reason would ever not carry a child all the way through, that's just
Yeah,
hypocrisy of the highest degree.
yeah, kind of backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you can't be pro-life and pro-death penalty. You just can't.
I suppose from the from their perspective, it's the matter of innocence versus guilt,
Right. I
because the
think
Bible
so.
does say that you are born without sin and then
Or
you
yeah.
begin committing sins. And so, I definitely see, because I am of the belief that you're absolutely right. But I can see how, we need to go to war against the terrorists and we
Uh
need to stop killing innocent babies, even though they're just clumps of cells.
right.
And,
Clumps of cells.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, are they Christian? But yeah,
Right.
it's a good Christian baby right there. Don't get rid
Right.
of it. He's gonna have to pay taxes.
Right.
Um,
It's like once they're born, get a job.
get a job.
Yeah. You're on your own,
That
kid.
fence needs
No.
fixing.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
If you screw up too bad, we'll have you killed. But we,
yeah,
we value your life. But oh no, okay. There's the biggest hypocrisy right there. Talking about Texas. Talking about all these red states where you have politicians trying to make getting an abortion, even having a miscarriage, a capital crime. They want
that's nuts.
mothers or, women,
Expecting women.
yeah,
Yeah,
who choose not to carry the child to term to be executed because they're so pro-life that mothers, and the fact that it's not like they come at this from some weird perspective that all women who get abortions are just using it as birth control. There's nothing else to it. They just don't want to have a baby, but they do want to have unprotected sex, and that's just not the case with the vast majority of women who go get abortions. But still, it's like,
that's how it's viewed.
do right by these people. Like they don't look at
Right.
any of the nuance in why would a woman have an abortion.
Yeah, until
Sometimes
until their daughter's pregnant.
right, exactly. And then they hide it and take her to go get an abortion.
Yeah,
And sometimes the doctor, it's to save the mother's life. The pregnancy is not going to go to term, but the longer they let it go, the less likely the mother will survive. So they're saving a life, but they think the mother should be executed for aborting an unviable pregnancy so that she doesn't die. What about it's just the abortion is a whole topic unto itself, but I'm
yeah,
just comparing it because it's a lot of the same people claiming the same values that, want them to at all costs protect this unborn child's sacred God-given life. But death penalty aside, they don't want mothers who have natural miscarriages to get away with that without being put to death. Investigated and put to death these women who are going through
hellish
one of
times.
the hardest thing they've ever gone through, probably. And they want to make it worse like that. But I mean, just to me, it's the hypocrisy is fascinating and infuriating to me. So I just wanted to bring that up while we're on the topic of killing them all and letting God sort them out, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is here in Texas.
Right.
Um, Especially if you're not white, because that's what I'm looking at right here.
Mm.
Um, just as a
Right.
country,
It's skewed bad.
we do execute more white people. 55% of defendants executed. I don't have a year here. Updated January 13th, 2023. So
Okay, that's
a
pretty
week
darn
ago.
recent. That's yeah, this month
Yeah.
as we're recording this.
So 56% of defendants executed were white.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
34% were black.
Okay, see, I thought more black people were executed, but I
Here we go
stand
though.
corrected.
Here we go though.
Okay. Oh,
Because just totally we execute more white people
okay.
by about 20%. However, here we go.
Is it Texas? Oh,
Persons
jeez.
no, it's not. It's the proportions. It's all about the proportions when you're talking
Ah,
percentages.
okay.
So while we do execute more white people, persons executed for interracial murders, we have 21 for a white defendant and a black victim. So
Okay.
21 out of the let me see here.
21% or just
No,
21?
21 total. So
Okay.
21 white defendants were executed for black victims,
Okay.
while 302 black defendants were executed for white victims.
Okay.
Quite a stark contrast. So you are more likely to get away with it if you are white and you kill a black person, or
Mhm.
get away with it. You will have prison. You've murdered somebody,
Right.
but you are much less likely to get executed for killing a black person if you are white. Whereas if a black person kills a white person, they are much more likely to get executed than a white person of
Right.
a similar case, with the races flip-flopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jurors in
True.
Washington state are 3 times more likely to recommend a death sentence for a black defendant than for a white defendant.
Hmm.
In Louisiana, the odds of the death sentence were 97% higher for those whose victim was white than for those whose victim was black. Study in California found that those convicted of killing whites were 3 times as likely to be sentenced to death as those
Hmm.
convicted for killing blacks, and more than 4 times more likely for those convicted of killing Latinos.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've got more. A
Wow.
comprehensive study of the death penalty in North Carolina found that the odds of receiving a death penalty sentence rose by 3.5 times among those whose defendants whose victims were white.
Mm.
Um, and I'm assuming that works both ways. Like if you kill white people, if you're white, you're more likely to get the death penalty, and same thing if you're black.
Uh-huh.
As in, don't be killing white people, says the state.
Right.
In 96% of states where there have been reviews of race and the death penalty, there was a pattern of either race of victim or race of defendant discrimination, or both.
Mm.
That one's actually kind of hard to break down, right? It's basically
Yeah.
just saying exactly what I was just saying for all those things. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's concerning. Yes,
Yeah.
because
It is. Well,
I listed out the race of defendants executed, race of victims in death penalty cases. 76% are white.
okay.
So if you kill,
76% of the victims are white.
yes, while only 16% are black, 7% are Latinx, and then
Mhm.
other is 2%.
Well, okay, and the white victims, like I'm thinking statistically, probably most of them were killed by other white people.
Yes.
Okay. Um, but like the racial imbalance there in those statistics, like how much of that, like I think clearly, like juries in this country are conditioned, like especially if they've been around a while. It's like, baby boomers didn't grow up with the CW where uh everybody's got a diverse cast. It's they didn't all grow up in public schools post um
Desegregation.
desegregation. Why couldn't I think of that word? Yeah, like, but we did. Like, we know that black people are people, though we are white, because we went to school with them. We had friends of various races. We interacted with everybody. But when you see on television and in film, like the bad guys are the brown people, the victims are the white people, it's got to skew the way that you go into a courtroom as a juror. Why did I say that like Spock? Um, but like, yeah, it's got to mess with your perception.
Oh
And I
yeah.
don't know how you fix that. I don't know how we fix that other than just and I think we're doing it like modern Hollywood. We've got black superheroes now, and people actually go to the movies to see those movies.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever and all that.
Right. Um, and I mean, huge, huge hits. So I think things are changing as far as the way media presents things, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, and with
You
social
know,
media, an upcoming topic,
oh
it
yeah.
is there is much more exposure to the injustices in our criminal justice system and the public skewing, because yeah, there's tons of stats on how if you're not white, you have it worse off in the defendant's box.
Uh-huh.
Because yeah, you like for example, one that just immediately comes to mind, for example, is in cases where minors are tried as adults, it
Uh-huh.
is far more likely that a black minor is to be tried as an adult
Oh yeah.
for
Mhm.
similar crimes that white minors have committed.
Right.
Like and this was reiterated in a much less the point of the study was the same as what I just described. However, the approach to the study, it allowed for much less flaw in it, because all
Yeah.
they were doing was trying to get people to guess the age of this person, and there was no indication of criminal background or anything, but they just showed images
Oh
of
my
white children and
goodness.
black children. Guess how old these people are. It was like crazy skewed. They show a black 12-year-old and they say he's 15, 16. They'd show a black 15-year-old, oh, he's 18, 19. And
Oh my God.
so
That's that.
the study showed that people tend to think that black children are way older than they actually are,
Uh-huh.
and
Huh.
which was used to accentuate how we tend to try black minors as adults at a far more frequent rate than we
Right.
do white minors.
And that's just horrible. Like that should not be a factor. Like how old does this person look?
Right.
No. And I don't think a minor should ever be tried as an adult. Because they're not adults. They might be really screwed up minors, but yeah, I just
Well, it's just a flaw in our justice
yeah.
system.
But to say
Because
to the look, like if you're gonna try a minor as an adult, it needs to be based on the level of comprehension of what they did, for one. If you're gonna go there, it should not be, does this 12-year-old look 18? I mean,
it's more so the level of punishment that's allowable by law. That's
right.
why you get tried as an adult.
Right, exactly. It's
And so, like, if this person is a 17-year-old gang member
mhm.
who has killed multiple people or participated in the killings of multiple
Right,
people,
right. Then they
should
want to
should
try them as an adult.
should they just go to juvie and then spend 4 years in prison and then
Hmm.
be available for parole and good behavior,
Hmm.
versus should they get 15 years for killing other minors, and should they, so
Yeah,
all about
there's so much
punishable by
nuance.
law.
I know.
But the problem is when you have a 13-year-old,
Yeah.
that that's where the problems come. Can you try a 13-year-old as an adult? That's actually an interesting stat to know is what's the youngest a person has been tried as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that would be interesting to know is like, well, how young have we tried somebody as an adult? If I remember, I think I've looked this up before. I think it was like 13. I think 13 was the
Okay.
youngest that we've tried someone as an adult in the modern era.
It's like not a 5-year-old,
Right. Yeah.
but like I'd be curious to know who the youngest person ever sentenced to death was.
Well, at least in Texas, according to that last UTD law,
Yeah.
uh, EDU website I was reading off of, you have to be 18 to
Okay.
get sentenced to death.
And have
Uh,
we sentenced 18-year-olds to death?
Good question.
Because I'm curious. Because to me, I don't know. Like there are teenagers who have committed heinous crimes. I still have a big problem with holding them as accountable as an actual adult, even if they've murdered their family. Yes, something needs to be done. They do need to be removed from society and locked up and hopefully counseled. But when your brain isn't even fully developed when you're a teenager. Like your judgment center is the last part of your brain to finish developing. And
right.
so I am always, I think, going to be opposed to executing people under the age of 25. Well, I'm always going to be opposed. I'm opposed to the death penalty in general, but I'm saying if I'm on a jury and the death penalty is on the table and it's what's going to happen here, I'm going to argue against it if it's for someone under the age of 25. Just because these people are not even 100% grown up yet, objectively.
Right. And especially, pertaining to my recent example of gang violence.
Uh-huh.
Gang violence can absolutely be rectified. Like gang
Mm-hmm.
culture
Oh,
is
yeah.
absolutely counselable. Because why
Right.
do people
Because,
join gangs? They join
yeah,
it for inclusion and security and
protection to some degree.
protection.
And it's hard to get out.
Right.
It's like
Once
it's a
you're in,
culture that, yeah,
exactly. And
and
so if
you're,
you're 18, you've killed people, you've slang drugs on the streets, and you've participated in gang culture, and you get caught up in some nasty crime,
uh-huh,
and you're only 17 years old, you can absolutely be
reformed.
reformed.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I 100%
Yeah.
agree with that. Now, if you are, like cutting the heads off of dogs by the time you're 11 and you're, stabbing your neighbors in their bedrooms while they sleep at the age
Yeah.
of, 15,
Then almost
then
certainly,
almost certainly you're probably pretty screwed up.
yeah, you're going to grow
And
up to do that to people. And
right. And it's never going to be enough.
right.
And those people should be studied, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Right. Yeah,
um
exactly. I still don't think they should be
Executed.
executed.
They should be studied 100%.
Yeah.
And be studied for limited periods of time
Mm-hmm.
by each particular doctor. They should not have extended periods of time where the doctor can become infatuated with
Oh,
a
yeah.
particular individual,
Yeah, I agree.
um, because that can lead to issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your previous question, the last judicially approved execution of a juvenile was convicted murderer Leonard Shockley, who died in a Maryland gas chamber on April 10th, 1959,
Huh.
at the age of 17.
Okay.
No one has been under the age of 19 at the time of execution since 1964.
Okay. Wow.
At the time of execution, though. So that means
Yeah.
that
They were
likely there have
convicted
been convicted,
earlier.
at the age of 18.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So what did that 17-year-old in 1959 do?
Murder.
Okay.
That's all I know right now.
Okay. That's interesting.
Must have been pretty bad. Probably black kid, white woman. That's what I'm guessing right now.
Right. Like while you're looking that up, like I said, I was going to go back to Star Trek. And it kind of like what we're talking about reminds me, because this particular episode of Star Trek dealt with the death penalty. It was Star Trek The Next Generation.
I literally called it.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll get
Black male, white female
okay.
in Maryland.
Okay.
Shockley, a black male, was executed in Maryland in a gas chamber for the murder of shopkeeper Sarah Hearn on January 16th, 1958.
Okay.
Shockley, then 16, was involved in the robbery of a small shop in Dorchester County, Maryland. He was accompanied by his older brother. Hearn was found stabbed several times in the back and breast. Her throat had been cut. The young culprits were identified by an eyewitness. Leonard was 17 years of age at the time of his execution, making him the last instance of a juvenile being executed in America. Judicially approved
Right.
execution. His brother received life in prison, but was eventually released. Interesting.
Very interesting.
But yes, so yeah, don't murder white people, says the country.
Jeez. I mean,
don't murder anybody.
Yeah, don't murder anybody, but the law is
definitely skewed.
Yeah, it's skewed, unfortunately. Like, and you know, like you're telling me heinous crimes that people have committed, these young people have committed. And you know, I just wonder, like, because it's easy, like, you know, okay, someone murders you, you know, I am going to be irate. Like, I am going to want blood personally. Like, I would, you know, but if it comes down to it ethically, I'm still opposed to the death penalty. I don't think taking a life for a life taken accomplishes anything. Like, I think you can lock someone up, remove them from society, you know, and it's kind of like they don't have to live with what they did once you kill them. But I mean, I kind of get why people feel like they want murderers to die. But I wonder if it is even effective as a deterrent. Because
I have stats on that.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you do. But
yeah.
But no, you know, I think if I go past this point without talking about Star Trek,
do the Star Trek thing.
Yeah, let's do Star Trek because it fits right into this. Because this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation was called Justice, and it was like the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Those episodes are always good when they have heavy titles like that.
Right. So like Enterprise goes to this planet, the Starship Enterprise, and it's like this paradise. And you know, just people are happy running around barely clothed. Like, and there's a teenager, like the doctor has a son named Wesley in the early seasons of that show. And so he's encouraged to go play with the other teenagers on this planet while the grown-ups are doing their official business stuff on the planet. And so he's playing ball, like everybody's happy, paradise, you know, there's free love going around, all that stuff, like, but he's playing ball, as I recall. And like, you know, like a kid kicks a ball through a window kind of thing happens. Something gets broken. Wesley is the one who did it. So Wesley, being an Earth boy, is like, well, time to own up. And he goes and he's like, I'm the one who did this. I broke this. And they're like, oh, that's unfortunate. We don't have any crime on this planet. No one ever commits crime because every crime is punishable by death. And they're like, but he's just a kid. He didn't know. Sorry, that's the rules here. Wesley's got to die. I don't remember how they got out of that. They did get him out of it, but the whole thing was that this whole society like lived in peace. There was no crime. Everyone was happy and free. But there was no crime because every crime was a capital offense. So much as breaking some public property by accident. Doesn't matter if it was an accident. It's against the law. You die. So that's kind of like, you know, it makes me, that's goes along with my pondering the effectiveness of the death penalty. If every crime in America, say, were punishable by death, jaywalking, you walk or you run a red light, you do a rolling stop at a stop sign where you just kind of almost stop, nobody's coming, you keep going, cop sees you, you're executed. Like, would that create a paradise? Like, does the death penalty actually stop murder from happening? Because it's only applied to murderers in the modern day. But is it a deterrent? Like, would it actually make the world a better place? Does it make the world a better place? Or do murderers still murder people? Like, is that something beyond getting scared out of? Like, if you are like, because if you kill someone in the heat of passion, like, you're just really angry, it's not premeditated.
Legal in Texas.
Right. But places where it's not, that is the fact that the death penalty could come for you gonna deter you? No, in my opinion, because you don't plan to kill someone. You're just really mad and you're physically lashing out, they die. But if it is premeditated, are you enough of a sociopath? Are you megalomaniacal or narcissistic enough that the law is not a deterrent because you're convinced you can get away with it? Like, or it's a game and you want to be caught, like with some serial killers. Like, I'm just curious. So what are your statistics on that? Do
So I'm
tell.
having trouble finding
your
the actual
thoughts.
the chart pages that I was originally looking at, but
Yeah.
basically it was talking about how actually it's reversed from what you might think. In states where the death penalty has been abolished, murder rates have gone down. And so my thoughts on that are basically it's almost like if the state can do it, so can I.
I
Like,
see.
and so the current fact sheet that, oh damn it, I just accidentally hit the X.
It's like, if mommy and daddy can smoke, so can I. Like, that kind of
exactly
interesting. I wonder if that just seems so weird. If that is like, or if it's just a subconscious thought process.
right. Let me see this brief stat page that I have. Let's see. So, like, for example, this correlates. What interferes with effective law enforcement? This is in the public opinion and the death penalty section of this fact sheet I'm looking at. And this is at deathpenaltyinfo.org for those that are listening.
Okay.
So what interferes with effective law enforcement? Number one, lack of law enforcement resource. Fair. Number two, drug alcohol abuse. Fair. Because alcohol is legal. And I'm sure plenty of officers go home and drink and maybe even develop an issue. Number three, family problems. Interfering with effective law enforcement. Lack of programs for mentally ill, as in PTSD for officers.
Which I'm sure a lot of them have.
A lot of them. Dude, if you see people die, if you're cleaning up. I was wondering the other night. I was wondering this the other night. There was apparently a hit and run in Garland, where I was at the time. But there was a hit and run resulting in the death of a walker, like a pedestrian on foot. A car hit them, splattered him, killed him.
Ooh.
And this was on the road that I was going to be traveling home that night. And so I was advised to take a different route just in case it was still all blocked off that night. I didn't leave until many hours later, so it was not there. However, you know what I did see? There was no rain this night, but there was clear water at the site of the accident. And so I got to thinking, who cleans up? Like, whose job does it fall to clean up the bits of human that are left to the scene like that? And who is checking on these people?
Yeah, are they okay? I
Yeah,
mean, I wouldn't be.
they just had to scoop brains up. Um,
Yeah, and how many of them are like, it's a living? Or
right.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't be. I'd be
they're
like,
fit.
I can do this. I can do this.
They're
Oh, geez,
they're
I gotta get paid.
62. They've been doing this for 30 years. They're fine.
Right.
Or they're incredibly not.
Right. Incredibly
And
not.
just suppressing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, so I can go on and on. There's several more of these of what interferes with effective law enforcement. The last ranked in this is insufficient use of the death penalty. As
Hmm.
in, the public does not think that criminals fear the death penalty because studies show they do not.
Right. So
Criminals don't think they're gonna get caught.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of them who plot things out, like they're so narcissistic. Like they think they're not going to get caught, or they think they can toy with law enforcement and lead them on a merry chase. Like their brains are not functioning in a way that threatening to kill them is going to deter them from doing what they're going to do. Like it's not going to curb that behavior.
Yep. So a 2010 poll by Lake Research Partners found that a clear majority of voters, 61%, would choose a punishment other than the death penalty for murder.
Mm-hmm.
And that pie chart breaks down to 33% choosing death penalty, 39%, the largest majority, life without parole plus restitution,
Mm-hmm.
then life without parole, and then life with parole, and then no opinion. So yeah, I can't find the exact pie charts, the chart breakdowns of the statistics revolving around does the death penalty work as a deterrent, but I'm looking at amnesty.org, which is the organization that is working to get prisoners exonerated
Mm-hmm.
through new DNA technology.
Okay.
And they've done an incredible job so far. They've exonerated tons of people who have been the most notable. I can't remember his name at the moment, but there was a young man probably 5 to 10 years ago who got released for a crime he did not commit, and then shortly thereafter killed himself.
Oh, jeez.
Because his life was ruined, even though
Right.
I think he was under 30 and had served like
Yeah.
7 years in prison for
Uh-huh.
a murder he did not commit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah, that's hard to come back from. It's impossible to come back from in a lot of, because in a lot of ways, socially, you are a murderer.
mm-hmm.
Like the minute you are accused of being a murderer, you are a murderer in the eyes of a lot of people. There are a lot of people who will never accept that you were innocent. Incidentally, back to the Code of Hammurabi, that was the first place where we have the concept of um, innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, it's still socially, like legally, that may be the case, but socially, not so much. People are always going to look at you funny, like if you're accused of some horrible crime. Like there are always going to be people who are uncomfortable with you.
Yeah, no, and it's the same for all crimes now too. I
Yeah.
mean, if you are accused of anything, there are going to be, especially with social media, again,
Uh-huh.
upcoming episode, social
Right.
media, the good, the bad. But yeah, on social media, it is just it's a cesspool
Oh
um,
yeah.
of allegations and
Mhm.
accusations and
And guilty until proven innocent.
guilty until proven. You
Or
are
just guilty.
guilty. Yeah,
Whether or not you're proven innocent, you're guilty.
absolutely.
You're
Yeah,
canceled. You're guilty. I think we talked about that on
with
our
cancel
cancel
culture.
culture
Yep,
episode.
because that's a large part of it.
Uh-huh.
But I do have a fact sheet in front of me. The problem is that there's no easy to read charts or anything. It is all
Right.
dissertation, basically.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
easy to just scan through.
yeah, so I have one that I can quickly read, which is it's listed in the format of myth versus fact.
Hmm.
So the myth being that the death penalty deters violent crime and makes society safer. Star Trek. Um,
Right.
Evidence from around the world has shown that the death penalty has no unique deterrent effect on crime. Many people have argued that abolishing the death penalty leads to higher crime rates, but studies in the USA and Canada, for instance, do not back this up. In 2004, in the USA, the average murder rate for states that used the death penalty was 5.71 per 100,000 of the population, as against 4.02% per 100,000 states and states that did not use it.
Hmm.
In 2003, in Canada, 27 years after the country abolished the death penalty, the murder rate had fallen by 44% since 1975. When capital punishment was still enforced, since 1975, when capital punishment was still enforced. Far
Uh-huh.
from making society safer, the death penalty has been shown to have a brutalizing effect on society, as I was saying earlier.
Right.
State-sanctioned killing only serves to endorse the use of force and continue the cycle of violence.
Fascinating.
So that
You
last part
know,
is definitely opinionated, but based on fact.
yeah. Yeah.
And as I was saying, I think it is the effect that, like, if the state can kill, so can I.
Hmm.
A subconscious thing, and completely, completely just my own opinion, but
Right.
subconsciously it makes sense. If the state
Yeah.
can do this, so can I. If the state can have a militia, so can I. If the state
Right.
can carry guns, so can I.
Uh-huh.
That's how we work here in America. Anything the country can do, I can do.
Right.
And so if the
Yeah, we
country's
think we have
allowed
a
to
right
kill,
to do it.
then I can kill.
Right.
And
Right.
if the
And
country
it's
can have flamethrowers and RPGs, then so can I.
well, and it's kind of like, the idea of an authority figure modeling a behavior. Um,
Yes.
because you see that, oh, this person, the state may deem this person worthy of death. Therefore, it is okay for me to kill this person, to be a vigilante. Like I could see it encouraging vigilantism just because, well, the law says it's okay for a person to die, but I don't think this person's gonna
Kyle
actually be held
Rittenhouse.
accountable. So,
Kyle Rittenhouse goes to defend public property from rioters, ends
uh-huh.
up killing 3 people,
Hmm.
and it's just like and then he gets away with it.
Yeah.
Self-defense.
Right. Right.
And,
So there's all those examples of um killing people being upheld as justice. The
yeah,
title of that Star Trek episode, it's justice.
yeah,
So it's okay. And if we're teaching that a life for a life is justice, then yeah, I could see that being something going on in the minds of people who kill, even if it's just subconscious. I also wonder what subconscious messages we might be sending people who kill, who murder, and then get the death penalty. You know, is the promise of death. Like, how many people go into a situation like this self-destructively? Like, how
mm,
many people who walk into an elementary school with a machine gun
expect to
are
come out alive.
unaware? Yeah, they are very aware that they're gonna die. Like, probably they're not even gonna go to court.
Right.
Someone is going to shoot them
They come
on
out aiming
sight.
aiming a cell phone at a police officer.
Right, because they know they're gonna die. Like, and how much of that, I mean, could be that we're encouraging people to take this exit ramp. It's like, you want to die, you want to give the world the finger, go kill some children and make your exit, and everyone will remember your name too. Like, there's that fame in infamy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you've accomplished something, you will be remembered forever. Also, you get to die. Like, it's a self-destructive path. um what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a totally valid thing. They expect to get killed no matter what, and the state will kill them no matter what.
Right.
They're going to
If they
get the
go to
death
court,
penalty.
yeah.
They're going to get the death penalty, rather than wait in prison, rather than having the threat of waiting in prison forever.
Yeah.
They would rather get executed by the police now. They don't want to appeal, but it's going to be a
Right.
forced appeal. You are as I
Right.
said earlier, you are forced to appeal. So you are forced to
Mhm.
wait in prison, for the killings of, 14 9-year-olds, where
Right.
you will likely get brutalized in prison for doing that if you are not held in solitary and under constant protection.
Hmm.
I doubt too many prisoners will take too kindly to you killing a bunch of 14 9-year-olds or anything.
Right. Right.
Probably a good portion of them have 9-year-olds, perhaps 14 of them.
Right.
And so yeah, you don't want to spend life in prison. So that the state encourages, not encourages, but the state will kill you no matter
Hmm.
what.
Yeah.
And so you will take the quick and easy way out.
Uh-huh.
Which brings up, I haven't touched on this at all, actually, my own opinion on the death penalty just as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, that was on
Um,
my bullet points. Like,
yeah,
I thought we should discuss that.
yeah,
Our
I've
opinions.
basically been stats guy tonight because it's all very
Yeah.
interesting to
I've
me.
loved it. So I didn't have to
But
look it up, but I got all the information.
and when I was, I think, 14 or 15, I
Uh-huh.
participated in a youth group summer camp,
Hmm.
with the United Methodist Church.
Right.
And my favorite workshop to do, every day we had a schedule, and from like 2 to 4 it was workshops.
Uh-huh.
And there
Yeah.
were
I
different
was
things you
there.
could do. There was like arts and crafts and Bible
Right. Right.
study.
Oh, I think I know where
But
this is going.
I was always in the hot
Hot
topics.
topics. Yes.
Like every opportunity you got, I was in hot topics. I was talking about gay marriage. I was
Uh-huh.
talking about the death penalty.
Hmm.
I was talking about smoking weed.
Right.
I was talking about all of that,
Yeah.
because that's where I wanted to be. I didn't, I think I participated in the arts and crafts maybe once or twice because there was a cute girl there. And me being
Yeah.
14, 15,
Right.
that's the way it works.
Uh-huh.
But if there was no cute girl there, I was definitely in the hot topics discussion.
Right. Right.
And one of those was the death penalty, and I was pro death penalty back then.
Interesting. Okay.
I just wanted it to be a quicker process. I was like, kill him quicker.
Jeez.
Like,
You know that that's
like,
teenagers have extreme points of view though. It's part of
right,
how like where your brain is at developmentally. It's hot or cold,
right.
So that's interesting.
And I was
Go on.
listening. I was definitely listening to the other opinions in the room. One of the main opinions that I've wrote down, stats, not to become stats guy again, but
Oh, go
is
for it. Be
is
stats guy.
the cost of death penalties.
Oh.
In Texas, it costs 2.3 million per trial. So
Hmm.
from the start to the end, from the start of the trial to the execution,
Right.
we've spent $2.3 million on that person's crime
Wow.
on average. Which is 3 times the cost if we just sentence him to life in prison. Because then we can just be done with it. And now he's just another cog in the prison industrial system, and we can forget about him, taxpayer dollars, yada yada. But because it's a death penalty case, it costs 3 times as much. And so when I was 15, I was like, well, then why are we waiting so long to kill him? Like, kill him quicker then. Don't put him up in prison for 35 years and then decide to kill him.
Yeah.
If you're gonna kill him. That's where I was at when I was 15. But now it is a much more nuanced thing because I'm 28 and able to understand nuance, unlike when I was 15. I definitely get the death penalty, but the only person, it's almost like I think the only person that should have the right to decide whether they get the death penalty isn't a jury. It isn't God or anything. It's like the family members of the victim.
Mm.
Do you want this person to die? Like, because a lot of people would rather kill them themselves, and often, or not often, but sometimes do,
Yeah.
for crimes that aren't punishable by death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, let's say 10 years down the road from now, I catch, some dude diddling my daughter,
Yeah.
my 9-year-old daughter.
Mm.
I might kill the guy right
Right.
there.
Crime
Uh,
of passion, or heat of the moment, whatever you call it.
Even if it's not heat of the moment, even if I pin the guy down and then I send him to the law,
Oh
and
yeah.
then he gets,
Let
10,
off.
10 years parole or some bump like that.
Yeah. But you want your daughter to be able to sleep at night.
Right. Daddy
Yeah.
killed the bad man. Daddy made the
Uh-huh.
bad man go away. Like, those are the things that it's like, the death penalty, because there is no death penalty for rape.
Right.
That person will forever be alive.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that's rough. And there are plenty of TV dramas that revolve around that. Plenty of Law and Order SVU, Criminal
Yeah.
Minds episodes. I was big into those for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are some very happy endings, let's just say, where the good guy goes to prison
Yeah.
because she shot the bad guy that got
Uh-huh.
away.
Right.
And let's just say we were all very satisfied with that ending,
Mm-hmm.
to a degree. And so, as far as my opinion on the death penalty goes, it's just like, I don't think the state should be able to sanction it.
Uh-huh.
It's just, I mentioned this earlier, but shadow of a doubt
Right.
comes to mind. The fact that there's even a possibility that an innocent person could be executed just
Oh
is
yeah.
disgusting to me.
And it's getting worse. And that's something I was gonna say earlier and it slipped my mind. But people getting away with or innocent
Innocent
people.
people getting executed.
And it's getting worse because like proving something beyond the shadow of a doubt is getting much harder because the software exists that I could record a few words of you just talking, and then I could have
An AI.
all of those were I could write a script and it would be spoken in your voice. There's a voice recording of you confessing to the crime, or deep fakes,
Yeah,
videos. Like there's footage of you committing the crime.
right.
Like the more our technology advances in that direction,
The more
the more
framing becomes plausible.
exactly,
And
because how long is it going to take the legal system to catch up to technology to realize
good
you
question,
yeah, and
because
so
I can barely pay my speeding tickets online.
right.
You got to go
Right.
into court for a speeding ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to wait for 3 hours. You got to take the day off of work because you were doing 7 over
Oh yeah.
while everyone
Ugh.
around you was doing 10 over.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I can't just admit to my guilt and pay my ticket. Like, please, thank you. So yeah,
Right.
technology advancing, like criminals are advancing faster with technology than the law enforcement system.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So as long as the death penalty is on the books, with this kind of thing with deep fakes getting better and better to where it's going to be more and more seamless, harder to prove that this video is fake. It's
oh
going to
yeah,
be like you're
I've
going to
seen
have more
entire
innocent people on death row.
I've seen entire music videos
Mm-hmm.
where Trump is the MC,
Oh, sorry, I got
and he says every
sick.
word of the music video. Like, he says every word, like Biden. Like, I've seen so many
Uh-huh.
videos of them saying things they did not say.
Yeah, they didn't say.
And it's just, so as a, yeah, that's a good point too, is like, death penalty death penalty should be gone, because how much longer can the court system prove that it's not
Right.
a complete fabrication?
Right. How long until all evidence is
And guess how
circumstantial?
right and guess how prosecutors become rock stars? By
Mm.
getting somebody killed.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Or by
that's
getting a guilty person off.
right.
I mean, because it goes the other direction too. There are
Yeah,
guilty people who are walking free, but
yeah.
you know,
OJ.
uh,
But
yeah, we don't know that. Well, that's when you were talking about the race issue in the
yeah, that
statistics,
was
like,
big. That was big in that case too.
yeah. And some people, like, white privilege should be a topic at some point too. That would be a fun one. But
Two white people talking about white privilege.
right. Yeah, but it would be us talking about it.
How many times
So
I've
like,
gotten away with murder,
right. So like we'd be all, with white privilege comes white responsibility. Like,
but
I
not too
don't know.
much.
But yeah, like I had a friend once, because I was talking about white privilege, and
I hope you did have a friend once.
I had a friend once. It was a very lovely time in my life. I killed him though, and
Oh,
got away
well,
with it using deep fakes.
yeah.
I killed him after this conversation because
Read about it in
yeah,
my
not really.
upcoming
That's not
novel.
even right. Right. Um,
I'm not actually even here. I am a deep fake.
he doesn't exist. This is
Yeah.
my imaginary friend Matt,
Former friend, currently
who I
imaginary.
killed.
Yeah.
No, but you're not the one. You and I would not have had this conversation. You'll know
Well,
who I'm
well, now
talking
I'm
about
concerned.
out of our
Okay.
friend group, but I'm not gonna say names. But like, yeah, we're talking about white privilege because he didn't really understand the concept, being a white boy. And he was like, well, what about black privilege? And I'm like, that's not a thing. And he's like, well, what about OJ? And I'm like, OJ didn't get off because he was black. He got off because he was rich and he had a really good lawyer. And for
Yeah.
all I know, he was innocent. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But come on, if he were a guilty man and got off scot-free, it wasn't because he was black.
Where do you think
It
the
was
term the
because
glove
he
fits
was
comes from?
rich. Exactly. That is exactly where that comes from.
Yeah. And yeah, no, so
If the
yeah,
glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, white privilege should be a topic. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, definitely should. Um, but yeah, I just thought that was funny talking about OJ. It reminded me of that. What about black privilege? No. Not how it
Stop.
works. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
we're
stop
definitely not
talking.
doing a topic on that.
Right.
There will never be an Autodidactica topic titled Black
Black
Privilege.
privilege. Right. At least
The
not in
myth, the
this
legend.
century. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh well.
I did see a funny TikTok pertaining to what you might call black privilege,
Uh-huh.
which was talking about how more and more companies are being incentivized to be ethno diverse.
Uh-huh.
So they're hiring people with ethnic names.
Oh
And
yeah.
then they were the punchline was, how long is it before we see a white person named, Tyrone, or insert other, popularly accepted ethnic name, but attached to a white person, just so they have
Right.
a better chance of getting a job. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is, like, it's not really a privilege. It's barely helping people catch up. It's
Yeah,
not, it's
it's
an
corporate
attempt.
bias.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an attempt to level the playing field, but it's still not level. It's
right.
still skewed in a white person's favor.
It's still capitalism.
Yeah,
So it
that
is ever
too.
skewed in the white person's favor.
Right, exactly. But
Anyway,
yeah,
back
we
to
should
the
save
death
this because
penalty.
year two we'll definitely be doing white privilege.
Yes, yes. So I have no more bullet points as far as stats go. I still have all
Yeah,
my stats sheets open, ready,
jeez,
and
that's
cocked and
great.
loaded for whenever you say something.
That is great.
Um,
I mean, I pretty much threw my bullet points too. just, I mean, I've said throughout this episode, I am opposed to the death penalty. Um,
I
like,
guess I could bring up globally. I didn't mention that at all either. We've been talking about
oh
Texas
yeah,
mostly
that's
all
true.
night.
Because that's where we're at in the
Where,
United States.
and
But
so I was looking at globally, and a good portion of the world has abolished the death penalty.
right.
And there are some abolitionists in practice, according to this stats page, and this is from statista.com.
Okay.
So some interesting ones for me were Russia, for all of our Russian listeners. Good job out there. More progressive than the United States as far as the death penalty is concerned. And I did a deeper dive into that. I would not have either. I would have thought they were executing people left and right, which they may be. But so because I'm skeptical just in terms of the state doesn't sanction it, but again, like I mentioned earlier about unsanctioned death penalties in the United States, as in lynchings, the lynchings and bounties on natives, which were not judicially sanctioned, but
it happened,
commonly accepted. You could buy a glass of whiskey with 2 scalps, and that was as good as money. And so, so Russia, according to this chart, it's abolitionist in practice with the asterisk of no executions in the past 10 years. So that includes Russia, parts of Northwest Africa, most of Northwest Africa, and then I'm not sure what countries those are, because
that was going to be my question. What countries in Africa?
I saw an interactive chart, so it's hard to tell.
Because I know, I think you said Egypt still had the death penalty,
and that's from my knowledge of geography.
Right.
Just looking at a map, I'm pretty sure I know where Egypt is.
Geography is not my bag either.
Let's see. So just as the header to this chart, the article stating, and this is according to Amnesty International, so the organization I mentioned earlier. The death penalty continues to be widespread in Asia, with China, India, Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia, among others, employing it. The death penalty is rare in Europe and the Americas, with the notable exceptions of Belarus, Guyana, Cuba, and the United States. It is still more common in Africa and the Middle East. 110 countries and territories around the world have abolished the death penalty. The most recently, Sierra Leone, Papua New Guinea, and Equatorial Guinea. 88 nations still have capital punishment on the books, while Amnesty International lists 27 of them as abolitionists in practice, meaning the countries haven't carried out an execution in at least 10 years. And then lastly, just one solitary sentence is October 10th marks the International Day Against the Death Penalty.
Okay.
So that's cool. Death penalty, so around the globe, it's almost 50-50, with more still leaning towards the death penalty. If my world geography holds up.
But a lot of people have outlawed it, have done away with it.
Pretty much all of Europe, for starters. Canada, Mexico, Northern South America. Looks like it's still legal in Argentina. Chile is abolished.
Interesting.
So the world is coming around on, and so it's worth noting that almost all of South America has abolished. However, the smallest portion on this map is retentionists for serious crimes. War crimes. That's basically all of South America is either abolished, or the death penalty is only reserved for the worst of crimes, as in war crimes, according to this chart. With Cuba being the main exception, where they still are all about the death penalty, like the United States. It's interesting that the United States is listed. For one thing, this is a whole different topic, but it's interesting to me in general that the United States is a country, because we are a collection of states,
Right.
and it
So
lists
it's like
the
little
United
countries that
right.
make up
It's
a big country.
50 little countries that make up a
Yeah.
big country because we're listed as retentionist, whereas half of the country has
Is
abolished the death
yeah,
penalty.
yeah. True. Well,
And
it's similar, like I was thinking about slavery, like how all these other countries had abolished slavery without a civil war long before the United States did. We were always seems like we're behind the curve a lot when it comes to social change.
we refuse
Like,
to be a unified country.
yeah, and it's kind of like half of us, because at the time that I want to say Mexico and the British Empire had outlawed slavery and America had not, but half of America had. It is, which is why we had a civil war, to oversimplify the matter. Like the northern states, no slaves. There was the line past which you couldn't have slaves.
Right? And then all of the
And it's kind
Northwest
of where we are.
ordinance,
Yeah,
like Michigan never had a slave. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, all
right.
of those Northwest ordinance territories, slavery was illegal from the start. The
Uh,
exception, I believe, was Kansas, bloody Kansas,
okay.
where they basically had a statewide civil war over
I
slavery,
didn't
and,
know about
and
that.
slavery won,
Interesting.
because the United States claimed that all the Northwest territories would be slave free
Uh, yeah,
whenever they acquired them from the French,
yeah.
during the French Indian War.
Hmm.
And then when it came to Nebraska and Kansas, they left it up to popular vote. And in Kansas, it was 50-50 down the middle.
Hmm.
And there was there was an armed conflict between the two factions, and the slave faction won. And
Interesting.
so Kansas got to have slaves.
I have never heard that story. That's really
And
cool.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
and
cool. It's cool that I heard a story I didn't hear, but that sucks. Like the story,
right.
the
And then
story
Texas
sucks, but
got to have slaves because it was his own country,
right,
and because we fought, the Mexicans, because
right. We
Stephen F.
won.
Austin came here with settlers, and the only way that he was going to get people to come is if slavery was allowed. And then Mexico said, "Hey, we only let you have this territory under the pretense you're in our country. You can't have slaves."
Right.
And then we said, "Screw that. Let's go to war." And so, thanks, Sam Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And then ironically, Texas did not want to participate in the American Civil War. They did not want to join the Confederacy, and our governor was ousted. Basically, there was a coup
yeah, and then we
to
were the
force
capital.
us to be in, yeah,
Yeah,
in the Confederacy.
yeah. And then our Constitution was outlined under the pretense of forever having slaves.
Right.
Our
God.
our secession notice, our
Uh-huh.
secession letter,
Yeah.
the number one thing in almost every secession letter was, we
Right.
want to have slaves. They didn't mention states' rights.
Well, the states' rights to have slaves.
States' rights to have slaves was the only
Right.
state right they mentioned,
That
but
is
that's
a
another topic.
Yeah, that is a
Um,
whole other topic. Let's talk about the Civil War. Did it ever really end?
right.
There's your topic. Um,
But yeah,
but
so roughly half the world is against the death penalty,
uh-huh.
with some very interesting, you know, countries like I mentioned, Russia, uh, in the practice of abolitionism. Um, and then not surprising is China,
Uh-huh.
and where don't have more than one kid, and
Yeah.
you know where I get all my world news from comedians. John Oliver, did a whole episode on the population crisis in China,
Uh-huh.
talking about the penalties for having more than one child.
I'll have to check that
And
one out.
oh, that was rough, because there are we are all pro-life here in Texas and the majority of the United States. And over there in China, they're like, oh, you're pregnant and you already have a child. Well, here's a forced abortion for you.
Right.
Because that
Yeah, it's
is,
the opposite extreme.
yeah, it is kill the child. Don't need it. Not enough food for it.
But that, I don't know. That's a hot topic right there. Because it does
Huh?
make like population control when you have a population problem.
It's
What do
not
you
the right way to
do?
go about it.
Oh yeah, I agree. There's got to be a better way.
Because the
Um,
population problem now is the result of the population problem then. The population problem now is that
right.
there's no birth rate. The birth rate in China is
Oh yeah,
incredibly low, because there are the ratio of men to women is like 8 to 2.
yeah.
Like
It's
for every eight
bad
men,
because
there's two
everybody
women.
wants a son.
And there are, so now there are 30-year-old men committing suicide because they've never had a girlfriend,
Right.
because guess what? There aren't girls.
Yeah.
And so now the population problem is a whole different problem, where
Hmm.
there's no child bearers
Right.
in the population. And the only I shouldn't say the only, but the majority of women are born to high class families because they can afford to have more
Uh
children, because that is the
yeah.
main thing, is that if you can afford to have more children, you can absolutely, because there's a child tax past your first child.
Okay, I didn't
And
know that.
that is the main thing, is you can have more than one child, but most families cannot afford to have more than one child.
Right. So if they have a girl, they kill it,
They kill it,
or
they drown it, or they
yeah,
get rid of
leave
it,
it on a
leave it on a
doorstep.
doorstep, or in a back alley somewhere, and
Hmm.
it's tragic.
It is
However,
horrible.
if a prominent family has a son and then has a daughter, well, they can get paid a lot for that daughter, because
Right.
now they have
Oh yeah.
a daughter to sell to some other high class family that has a son that needs a wife,
Uh-huh.
and promote the wealthy bloodline.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, so yeah, in China they definitely like the death penalty.
Yeah.
That actually be more interesting to go into deeper, to what gets you the death penalty in China.
Well, that is
Uh,
interesting because technically being the second born child in a poor family gets you the death penalty.
right, exactly.
Or, well, I mean, because they don't wait till, or what do they do after the child is born? Like if the mom gets away with it, if the mom and dad get away with it and try to hide their kid and they find out, oh, you've secretly got two kids. Because abortion, I wouldn't
I
consider
think
the
they
death penalty, but
I think, if I remember correctly, there was a matter of like a lien against your property.
mhm.
Like the government can like confiscate your belongings, and now you owe the government money
Okay.
legally. Like they basically
Like
take
you
your
have
house,
to
you
pay
still
that
live there,
tax, that
but
child tax.
exactly, and if you can't
Okay.
afford it, then you can face prison time.
Hmm.
um Perhaps, I think they have worker camps. I think that's a large thing there. A large form of punishment is worker camps.
I see.
And so you can basically be forced into forced labor
Hmm.
for
Jeez.
to pay off your debt.
Right. So yeah, man, that's bad. But again, we're
Basically,
like,
we have research to do.
yeah,
uh,
yeah, pretty much. But I mean, that's quite a tangent. We just went on,
well, it's still
but
death penalty in the
it's still
world.
death penalty. Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
and
What is
across,
up with my hair? Oh,
it's there.
yeah, it was
Be
doing something
thankful.
weird. I am
Kill it.
thankful. I like my hair.
uh,
Oh, but go on. I'm listening.
no, so I mean that's death penalty in the world. That was pretty much my last thought there. I don't, let me just
Yeah.
check my other tabs here. Um Interesting thoughts. Women don't get the death penalty nearly as much.
Right.
Um,
Well,
there's
there's
a
hardly, I don't think there have been many female serial killers on record. There,
well, serial killer, sure.
well, again, because you don't have to be a serial killer to get the death penalty, true.
Yeah, let's
But I
see.
just, knowing that, I wonder if there are as many female murderers in general, or if it's more likely that a male will commit murder. The testosterone poisoning.
Yep, according to so backtracking a little bit here,
Uh,
actually, because I wanted to mention this. According to deathpenaltyinfo.org, in 2005, the Supreme Court in Roper, R-O-P-E-R,
mhm.
versus Simmons struck down the death penalty for juveniles. 2005.
Okay.
Since 1976, 22 defendants had been executed for offenses committed as juveniles.
Huh.
So that's a lot
Wow.
more than my previous one.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Because disclosure, that was from Wikipedia, by the way.
Okay.
However, I did look up that one person, Leonard something.
Uh-huh.
Um, but according to this probably more reputable source, 22 defendants have been executed for offenses committed as juveniles.
Uh-huh.
And then the next bullet point is women. There were 51 women on death row as of October 1st, 2021, constituting 2.08% of the total death row population.
Huh.
17 women have been executed since 1976.
Okay, that's more than I thought.
Honestly. And there was recently a stay of execution for a woman. I remember
Uh-huh.
that making headlines. I don't remember her name or anything, but there was a woman that received a stay of execution here recently.
Huh.
Um, yeah, this stat page is just fun to read.
Yeah.
It's literally the deathpenaltyinfo.org. You go there, there's facts and resources, and the number one fact and resource tab. The link on that tab is the stat page that I'm reading from, because it
Okay.
has executions by method, most being since, let's see, this is since 1976.
Uh-huh.
1,381 by lethal injection, 163 by electrocution, 11 by gas chamber, 3 by hanging, and 3 by firing squad since 1976.
By firing squad. That's
11
interesting.
gas chambers seems like a lot since
Yeah, that
1976.
is a lot.
Like,
You just don't think
gas
about people
chamber?
going to a gas chamber or a firing squad or even hangings in the 21st century or the 20th century, the late 20th century.
See, I
I don't
like
think
the
about
idea of
hanging.
hanging and firing squads. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But just because it's historically proven to get the job done.
I mean, it gets the job done. That's true. But
But gas chamber just paints a horrible picture in my mind due to a certain historical event in 1940s
right, yeah, you think about
timeline.
Nazis, you think about Hitler, you think
Yeah, and so I
about
think
Auschwitz.
since
Auschwitz.
1976, gas chamber being a thing as being a little outdated. But
Yeah,
honestly, probably not that bad of a way to go, depending on the gas that was used in the gas chamber.
right.
That could be the most painless way of all.
It could be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the most painless way to go is, but
Well, I mean, harkening back to
probably
episode
not the
12.
electric chair.
Oh, electric chair, there's so many complications
Yeah,
that
it's
can
not
happen.
the.
You could have a low amount of conductivity
Oh yeah.
and just
Oh
sit there
man.
and burn.
Oh god. Oh god.
And
I don't
there were
want to
several
think about it.
ignitions,
Uh-huh. Oh
like where you burst into flames,
gosh. Mm,
like, because that's not how I want to go. I do not want to go out in flames.
no.
I would rather take the firing
Blaze of
squad, thank you.
glory. Yeah.
And firing
Yeah,
squad seems
same.
rough to
Get it
me
done. It does.
because
Because it
how
might
good's their
not
aim?
exactly. It might not get you
All
right
5 of those
away.
guns better have a bullet in them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because the whole firing squad thing is that, one person has a real cartridge and the rest of them have a false one, so that nobody knows who actually
Oh,
shot the guy.
I didn't know that. I'm
Did
learning
you
all
not know
kinds of
that?
things
Yeah,
tonight.
no.
Yeah, I had
No,
no, I
the
thought
whole thing about
everybody had a loaded
no,
weapon
no, the whole
and
thing of the
everybody
firing
shot
squad,
them.
no, is you get, typically at least 5 men together, give them each a gun,
And only
and
one of those guns is
only one of
loaded.
those guns actually has a live cartridge in it,
Huh.
to where none of those men have to go to bed with the full guilt of having killed a person.
Yeah, because they have no idea which one of them actually did the killing.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
But I want every one of those men to have a live cartridge, because I don't want one bullet going into me. That might take me a while to die.
Exactly, depending on where it hits. It might
Yeah.
not even kill you.
They're supposed to aim at your chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I don't want
But
to
if you
sit
know
there, because I
you're
will die eventually from an untreated gunshot wound.
yeah. But I'm envisioning like a Star Wars firing squad with Imperial
Oh my
stormtroopers,
god. We'd be there
and
all
none of
day.
them, yeah, no one gets you.
I'd be like, just
Oh,
force choke me. Bring Vader out here. Put him on the intercom
right.
screen. Just have him do it through the screen, across the galaxy. Like,
Oh, they did this great thing on The Mandalorian where like dudes like the stormtroopers are just sitting on a bike and they start trying to shoot at a can and they keep missing it. And I'm just like, no, this is too
they're
funny.
doing the joke.
Yeah, they're doing the joke in Star Wars. It's making fun of itself and it's beautiful.
That's the best.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd definitely rather be a hung than firing squad. Because
yeah,
worst case, I go out. Best case, my neck breaks. Worst case, I'm asphyxiated for maybe a minute, maybe in a minute and a half, and it's just kind of
yeah,
scary for a minute and a half, and
yeah.
then I'm out cold, and then I eventually die due to, oxygen being cut off from my brain.
Hmm.
But the firing squad seems pretty rough. As far as like now, the big question is electrocution versus firing squad. Now, I'm a pretty confident guy. I think that I could be electrocuted just fine. But
That's a weird thing to be confident about, but I'll
right.
give it to
Well,
you.
I have plenty of weird things to
I'm
be
sure you
confident
can do
about.
it.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident in my ability to be electrocuted.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Let's test that.
because yeah, dude, I'd probably take hanging over lethal injection, because
Huh.
that's scarier to me. Like, shoot me up with morphine first and put the white phosphorus into my veins.
Yeah,
No, thank
man.
you.
I don't know how, like, if I had to choose my execution, I would have such
I'd
a
I,
hard time.
I'd probably choose gas chamber over it, because I was gonna say, harkening back to our episode 12, I think
Oh, yeah,
was suicide and ethics.
maybe.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
God, I don't even know if I should say this out here. I don't want to give anybody any ideas. Um,
But what?
but okay, well, here we go.
I
We don't hold
mean,
anything back
it's
here.
Autodidactica. We just say it. What?
Yeah, no, your face got really bright for a second.
Oh, because I opened up, I was trying to see which episode
I
that
thought it,
was.
I thought it was 12.
It
I
was
could be
10, episode
10,
10.
even numbers. I get them
Yeah,
confused.
12 was Christianity, Satanism, and all that.
Right on. Okay, so
So back to episode 10. So,
back to episode 10. Uh, the whole parking your car in the garage and shutting the garage. I
yeah.
hear it's a pretty effective and painless way to go,
Mm,
because you pass out from the gases and then you die from the gases.
uh-huh.
And so, like I
Yeah.
said, depending on the gases in the gas chamber, it could be a pretty easy going way to go, where you just kind of go to sleep,
Yeah,
and
and
then you die.
that's the
You
way
know,
I'd want to be executed. Just put me to
smells a little funny
sleep.
in here,
Uh-huh.
and then you're dead. Then you never wake up.
Right.
So yeah, the lethal injection, with all the things that can go wrong with that, like, it doesn't happen very often, but the fact that it does happen where the injection doesn't work.
You're right.
We didn't even talk about the horrific side of
Oh
the
yeah.
death penalty, where somebody gets killed. Somebody has to kill that person too. Like, what
Yeah.
about them? Are they getting proper counseling? What
Right.
about the
For
person
real.
putting in the
The
injection?
executioner.
Yeah. Are they
Whew.
getting, well, what does that do to them?
Yeah, that's a job I would not want. Well, I
There's an
couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, how do you go home to your family? Be like, hey, how was work today?
Well, I killed a man like I do every day, and
And how are they
I'm an
even
executioner.
in a job? We execute so few people.
Right. Yeah, that
Like,
job's gotta pay well. I gotta, just thinking
here
weird
we go.
thoughts.
Here we go. Looking at
Uh-oh. Okay.
Googling.
Statistics guy. How much do executioners get paid? We're all gonna be executioners. We're gonna get money. I'm opposed to the death penalty, but I'm an executioner.
Holy crap.
Is it a ton of money?
For me, yeah.
Then it is for me as well.
Just considering, I mean, what do they do? I'm on ziprecruiter.com. Um, literally,
Executioners.
yeah, looking for executioners.
What?
Um,
Oh,
there's job listings.
okay.
It's so according to vice.com, what is commonly called executioner is not a career. Former Oregon death row warden Frank Thompson, who oversaw 2 executions at Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem, told me in an email, think of them as soldiers, he advised, in the
Huh.
war against crime, quote,
Oh my
who are,
goodness.
quote, sent into a tiny room to kill somebody, end quote. But according to ZipRecruiter, as of January 18th, 2023, the average annual pay for an executioner in the United States is 54K a year.
54K seems low for
But consider the
that.
work, but consider the workload.
That's
You
true.
have to do like one a year,
That's
one or
true.
two a year. Like,
Yeah.
consider that since 1977, Texas has only executed about 560 people.
Hmm.
That's still what, 30 to 2006, and so it'll be 50 in 2026. So
Hmm.
over almost 50 years, that's only like 10 a year. You go to a state that has far less.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Now we have listeners who are like, ooh, I'm going to be an executioner. I'm going to make
Dude,
that
I'll do it.
money, do
Dude,
no work.
anything for that
Uh,
bag, dude.
not me. Not
Whatever
me.
pays the
I,
bills.
mm,
You know,
I need to be able to sleep at night. I need to be able to look at the guy in the mirror and respect him.
it's
I
fine.
can't 50 grand, 54 grand a year, but
Dude,
I
it's just
kill all
funny
these
reading
people.
reading this off of ZipRecruiter
That is
with
ridiculous.
their because I don't know who writes these things, but it's got to be like like automatically generated,
Uh-huh.
like saying, well, ZipRecruiter is seeing annual salaries as high as $128,000 a year and as low as $18,000 a year.
Oh
The
my
majority of
gosh.
executioner salaries is currently ranging between 31.5 and 63.5, with top earners making $100,000 annually across the United States. The average pay range for an executioner varies greatly, which
Wow, I
suggests
guess
there
like with
may
any
be
job.
many opportunities for advancement and
Advancement.
increased pay
Like,
based on skill level, location, and years of experience.
geez. Well, like, how do you get promoted as an executioner job? Do you become the genocide guy? You go wipe out a whole neighborhood of
Yeah,
criminals? Like, what the heck? Opportunity
you
for
start off as,
advancement.
yeah, you start off as executioner and top rank as Hitler.
Hitler
That's your
or
job
Dark
title.
Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yeah,
You
so yeah,
think?
this is all automatically generated because it
Oh my
says based
gosh.
on recent job posting activity on ZipRecruiter, the executioner job market in both Richardson, Texas, and throughout the entire state of Texas is not as active as few companies are currently hiring. Companies?
Companies. Like McDonald's has an executioner.
Jesus. This is hilarious.
The chicken nuggets, they're people.
They're people.
They're people.
So yeah, that was just a little bit of entertainment for y'all, because this has got to be completely inaccurate from ziprecruiter.com for executioner for hire.
Wow.
From
Wow.
very few companies in our area.
Yeah, very few are hiring executioners, either because they already have one,
right? Which
or because they don't need one. Like the Walmart executioner job has been filled.
Yeah,
like no,
that's Bethany.
That's the guy who makes 18 grand a year. That's or Bethany. Bethany, the executioner, only makes 18 grand a year because she works at Walmart.
Oh God! Hey, they make better money than that. They have minimum wage $15 an hour now. So she better be getting paid at least 20.
Yeah,
to put her kids through college.
Right. So they can grow up.
She's executing the union workers. That's her job.
Probably.
She just John Wicks them.
Right. Because who else is Walmart gonna have killed?
Some white-haired white lady.
Like, does Disney have an Of course Disney has an executioner. Of course
they have an executioner.
There's no way Disney does.
Yeah, George Lucas is a deep fake currently.
They executed him and stole Lucas.
Yeah, that's been a deep fake for years now.
Okay, makes a lot of sense, really.
Honestly.
That's how they're acquiring all these other companies.
Yeah, they've just got Bethany going after them.
Bethany. Oh, Bethany works for Disney too. Or all executioners are named Bethany. All corporate executioners.
No, there's just one. She's got the one spot. Yeah.
Okay.
She's cross country.
Okay.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, is Jason
I guess Bourne. She'd have time. Oh, good stuff.
Good stuff. Death penalty, y'all.
Yeah. I think we've done this one.
I think we have done this one. Debbie did death penalty.
Right. And so did we.
Yeah.
Bethany did the death penalty.
Oh, my face hurts now from giggling.
That's a good thing. That's a good kind of hurt. All right.
Yeah. It's good to hurt after giggling over the death penalty.
Right. Which is, we giggle after the death penalty after having a deep, morbid conversation about it. So if you got this far, thank you for listening. And if you only got a few minutes in, thank you for listening, but you don't get to hear us say it.
Right. To the gallows with you.
Yeah, to Bethany with you.
Got her on speed dial.
Right, Bethany, the corporate.
Sorry to anybody named Bethany out there.
Right, but your friends will fear and respect you more now.
Absolutely.
just go with it. But don't kill anybody. Not unless you're getting paid.
Not unless you're getting paid by the state.
By the state or Disney or McDonald's.
Walmart. Dude, Walmart absolutely has an executioner.
Yeah, they got to
on payroll.
Mm-hmm.
Listed as a like human resources.
No, that's the receipt checker. Like when you walk out with something that isn't in a bag and they read your receipt, that's the executioner.
They just be like, "Follow me, sir."
And they
just like to offer you a gift card for your opinions in this back soundproof room. Don't mind the things that look like shower heads.
I was just about to say it's got to be a gas chamber at Walmart. It's got to be a gas chamber.
And then they leave the card outside. We can restock that stuff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we've done
deep state.
Death penalty. I'm against it.
Same.
Yeah.
It's outdated.
It's way outdated and apparently completely ineffective as a deterrent.
Right, which are it's expensive, it's ineffective as a deterrent, it's outdated. Innocents are being killed.
Yes.
We don't even execute that many people, so why is it even an option?
Yeah. Yeah.
Comparatively to, it brings to light bigger issues in the prison system where we could be housing just death row inmates that aren't getting the death penalty instead
Right.
of, small crimes, drug related crimes, and things like that. Prisons could be put to better use by removing killers from our society instead of killing them,
Mhm.
instead of just, pot dealers. Um, so
Right.
yeah, it's completely ineffective in almost every capacity. Public opinion shows the same.
Right.
Only 37% of the country wants the death penalty.
Yeah.
Almost everybody wants incarceration as an alternative,
Mhm.
or 9% are non-opinionated,
Yeah.
according to that study. But yeah, I'm against it. You
Yeah.
know, closing thoughts.
Right. So there you go. Next week we're
Oh,
gonna do.
jeez.
Oh geez, yeah, you're right. I'm so intimidated, even though like
It's
all
gonna be
day,
fine.
like there's so much going on with this topic right now. It's a very current issue. The politicization of the transgender experience. Basically transgender people versus politics. Um yeah, that's going to be the topic. So feel free, please, because like Matt pointed out earlier, we are two cisgender guys who are going to be discussing this. So if you are a transgender person, please do reach out to us with your thoughts. Comment on YouTube, email us autodidacticapodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your thoughts on an issue that um it's your issue, really. It's all of our issue. It's a human issue, but
Absolutely.
only a transgender person is having the transgender experience. So I intend to go into this episode completely owning that. But to me, I think we're going to be focusing more on the politics of it, the why, you know,
The
not
advantages, disadvantages of either owning or disowning transgenders as a demographic.
right, right. Just what's going on? What's
What's
going
going
on?
on?
Why are
Yeah,
people afraid of transgender people? We're going to talk about it, and it's intimidating. So hopefully you'll join us for that.
yeah. You think
Uh,
Glenn for that topic?
yeah. I like to talk about the things. I like to talk about the things, Matt.
Yeah,
The things going on in the world.
the things I have
They're
not studied at all.
right. But we get
But
to, like,
yeah, this is one that I will absolutely have to do research on because I have
yeah,
no experience. I have no trans friends. I have acquaintances,
yeah.
the smallest of acquaintances,
Mhm.
but I have zero experience in this other than the politicization of it.
Right.
I am
Right.
aware of it in the political sphere, and that is
Uh-huh.
this. But that's next episode.
Right.
Um,
So, yeah. So there you go. This has been Autodidactica. Until next time, Matt's got band My Perfect End all over the
somewhat
internet.
all over the
Somewhat,
internet,
sort of a band. Like,
a
um,
studio band.
yeah. And I've got books. You can read my books. You can go to my author website, glensladeclarkjr.com. You'll find links to all my publications, also my YouTube channel, and all the backlog of episodes of Autodidactica. Um, Gosh, what else do we have to say? I think we've
Okay.
plugged commenting and emailing us a million times in this episode. We like
Yeah,
that. It's fun. We like interacting with listeners and viewers, however you're taking us in. We appreciate it.
we do.
Um, so you got anything else to say?
Don't diddly my daughter.
Yeah, or he'll kill you. He will kill you.
I probably
But
will. Depending on the age of my daughter. If she's a full grown adult and she's consenting,
right. Well,
none
that's
of my
totally
business.
different. Totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. But
So don't tick off Matt,
yeah.
and don't tick me off either. I won't kill you, but I don't want to be ticked off.
He might torture you though.
I might well torture you.
Yeah.
Or we'll call Bethany. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, I'll call. I got Bethany on speed dial. I already said it
Yeah.
once.
All right. So until next time, this has been Autodidactica. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week with the politicization of the transgender experience.
Yep. Make good decisions.